Last time on YGO GX.
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Yeah, wrestling! Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of LittleKuriboh Watches YGO GX, the show where I do that. If you never watched this, I'm actually unironically watching YGO GX. I'm giving it a chance. It kind of slipped me by before. I wasn't really keen on it. I didn't care for the card game aspect, and I really didn't care for Jaden as a protagonist. I hate to say it. So I was always like, GX, not my thing. But revisiting it has given me a whole new appreciation of how absurdly great it is. And if you like absurdly great things, you should go to hulu.com or crunchyroll.com or yugioh.com and you can watch YGO GX dubbed with me, or subbed if you prefer, and we can watch it together over time. Plenty of legal options to watch YGO GX with. I advise using them. They're good. So yeah, this episode that I'm watching is actually the second part of a two-parter called the Shadow Duelist. And if you don't remember from the previous episode, this episode sees Jaden and Cyrus and Chumley walking into the abandoned dorm on Academy Island. I keep forgetting what the island's called, and then I remember it's the most obvious name you could think of. Should just call it Yu-Gi-Oh! Island. Isle of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Isle. But yeah, not only have Jaden, Cyrus, and Chumley gone into the abandoned dorm, I also am here. Not at the same time, obviously. It's been a few decades since they did it. But I'm looking for my bloody hair, because as you can tell, it's gone. I usually have long, flowing, golden locks, and now I don't. My mane of beautiful blonde hair is missing, and somebody's responsible. And I'm gonna find out here at the abandoned dorm. Otherwise, I just gotta deal with being bald. A fate worse than death. Nah, not really. But picking up right where the Shadow Duelist Part 1 left us off, the Undertaker is threatening Jaden with his crotch. It's quite a predicament. Emphasis on the And after the episode is finished recounting the events of Part 1, we immediately are launched into the YGO GX opening theme, aka best theme. And I should point out that one of my favorite shots in the opening is when Chumley's by himself being like, like, I don't know, he's like grumpy, he's like trying to be stalwart, what's he doing? When really we know he's probably just pissed because the Slifer Red Dorm is being fumigated and he can't sleep anywhere. I sympathize with him. If I don't have access to my bed at all times, I will punch things. So yeah, we jump right back into the Undertaker versus Jaden Yuki duel, and the Undertaker threatens Jaden, saying that his archfiends will finish off his life points, while his shitty-looking Halloween costume Millennium Puzzle prop finishes off his soul. It's a knockoff Millennium Puzzle. Probably got it 3D printed by some shitty Etsy store. Jaden activates Mirage of Nightmare and sets a few cards face down. Mirage of Nightmare is kind of a terrifying looking card. Hey, I'm Jaden Yuki, the bubbly little high schooler, and I think the perfect way to represent my character in my deck is by putting Mirage of Nightmare in there. Nothing says plucky youth like Mirage of Nightmare. Dead people. Mirage of Nightmare lets Jaden draw until he has 4 cards in his hand, and Undertaker says you could have 4 million cards and it wouldn't stop you from being destroyed by me. No, if Jaden had 4 million cards in his deck, first of all, he'd be disqualified. No, actually he wouldn't, because he's Jaden. But also, if he wasn't disqualified, he would still somehow draw the perfect first hand that would somehow enable him to summon the perfect combination of elemental heroes to allow him to win the game. Or he'd just draw Monster Reborn first thing and he'd win. Because that's how that works. If you had 4 million cards, you couldn't destroy me. What a stupid comment, though. If you had lots of cards, it would be no good. Yeah, no shit. Because it's not about how many cards you've got, you divvy. It's about what you've got. Nobody in this show seems to understand the basic premise of the game. But that's okay, because neither do I. Terror King Archfiend attacks once again with a swarm of locusts that emerge from his throat. And Jaden says,
Talk about butterflies in your stomach.
No. Jaden there, completely underestimating the severity of the situation as always. Why didn't Jaden coming across like a room full of people dying from the plague? And he'd be like, man, talk about coming down with the flu! And then suddenly everyone would be more grateful for the fact that they were dying of the plague, because then they wouldn't have to listen to more of Jaden's commentary. Oh man, talk about butterflies in your stomach! Jaden uses Mirror Force, which makes him automatically a dick. Let's call it dick force and destroys all of the Undertaker's monsters. And so the Undertaker has this perfectly reasonable response.
How dare you!
How? 'Cause I'm daring, I guess.
You. Jaden Yuki, the master of the pithy retort. Mate, you played a trading card. It's not like you bungee jumped into the Grand Canyon. Come see Jaden Yuki's Daredevil performance, where he will perform such daredevil acts as activating Swords of Revealing Light. And if that don't wow you, then you are unwowable. You cannot be wowed if that don't impress you. Undertaker brings back his Terror King Archfiend and attacks once again with his Locust Swarm, forcing Jaden to activate emergency provisions in order to stay alive. You know, the Undertaker has actually found Jaden's ultimate weakness, because heaven knows Jaden's gonna be pulling locusts out of his hair for the next 6 months now. There's just that much of it. Undertaker is shocked that Jaden withstood his attack.
You still stand?
As long as I got 2 good legs.
But your legs are not good.
Your legs are shit. Looking around on those legs. They're not good. They are not good legs. Undertaker activates his bargain bin millennium item to cause Jaden's arms to start disappearing, to which Jaden, below average legs Yuki, responds with,
Talk about hanging on by a limb.
yeah, please stop doing that. Not everything has to have some sort of pun-related comeback. You think Jaden walks out and looks at the sky and is like, man, talk about a cloud with a silver lining. It's like, stop. I swear, going from a protagonist like Yugi Moto to a protagonist like Jaden Yuki is like having a double bill of the Lego movie followed by the Emoji movie. One of them just serves to remind you that you just experienced something great, and now you're here, watching this. Jaden fuses Elemental Hero Avion with Elemental Hero Bastina to summon Elemental Hero Flame Wingman. It's just a dude that's on fire who will also support you when trying to hook up with girls. Flame Wingman. Jaden uses Flame Wingman to destroy Undertaker's Terror King Archfiend, and Undertaker loses life points equal to his Archfiend's attack, which causes his body to start disappearing. And Cyrus notices this and comments on it to Chumley, who responds, do you think it'll work on my waistline?
He's fat!
Undertaker brings back Terror King Archfiend like for the 3rd time, and then Undertaker sacrifices Terror King to summon the Skull Archfiend of Darkness. And it's like an evil summoned skull. Not to say that a skull demon summoned from the pits of hell isn't already kind of evil. Eviler summoned skull. More evilish summoned skull. Jaden is feeling beat down by Undertaker, and he thinks he has to carry on for Alexis. Jaden, don't pretend you have any kind of emotional attachment to anything that isn't made out of cardboard paper. You're just kidding yourself. Undertaker holds up his Millennium item and says, yes, feel yourself falling further into the shadows. Imagine if Yugi had to hold up his Millennium puzzle every time he wanted to use it. Hang on, let me ask the Pharaoh what he thinks. Yeah? Uh-huh. Oh, you think I should summon the Celtic Guardian? What's that? Bakura's stuck down a well? Good. Well, the that Yugi is. Undertaker says that Jaden will soon be nothing but a hollow, soulless shell. So an upgrade. And Jaden falls to the ground and does that weird pose. What is your leg doing, mate? Undertaker was right. His legs aren't good. And I guess Jaden succumbs to the influence of the shadows, because next thing you know, he's in a weird, dark, ethereal realm or something. Like a shadowy realm. Not the shadow realm, but shadow-esque. Jaden hears Winged Kuriboh calling to him from his deck, which is not concerning in the least. Imagine being able to talk to any duel monster you like, and it ends up being Winged Kuriboh. I was hoping to chat up Dark Magician Girl, but you're telling me I've got to make friends with a Furby. You're having a laugh. A mystic light emerges from Jaden's duel disc and starts flitting about the place, lighting up the room around him. And then Jaden has one of those moments like in a movie where a character will say a word and then suddenly they'll be like, hang on, I figured everything out. It's not enough that the Winged Kuriboh was showing him that it was an illusion. They had to have Jaden suss it out by himself with his own superior intellect, for which he's not exactly known. But sure, the main character is the only one that can figure out. You don't need any help. So yeah, Jaden's like, oh man, Winged Kuriboh, if you keep flying around like that, you're gonna hypnotize me. And then he figures out that the Undertaker's hypnotizing him. It's just like Winged Kuriboh was trying to tell you directly, and yet you're like, no, I figured it out through random word association. Just a great heroic character trait. Being able to stumble accidentally upon the solution to the problem. It bothers me. So now that Jaden's figured out that the shadow game isn't a real shadow game, he's not remotely affected by it anymore and is just like, whatever. And I feel like if Jaden could have any motto other than get your game on, it would be, because that seems to be how he deals with most of his problems, successfully. Undertaker wonders aloud why Jaden isn't scared anymore. Have you been watching the bloody duel? He hadn't been scared once. He's been like, oh, whatever, I don't care. Oh, this is weird. But never scared. He has been many things throughout this card game. A braggart, angry, a but never scared. So why are you suddenly surprised that he is also not scared by this? Maybe don't try to scare the guy who appears to care about nothing. Imagine walking through a haunted house attraction with Jaden, and he's like, well, that's bullshit, and that's bullshit too. That's also bullshit. Look at that bullshit. And just ruins the experience for you. And he walks through just all confident, and he's like, I won the haunted house. And you have to give it to him, because he wouldn't understand it any other way. Everything is a game to him. Jaden activates his Dark Catapult as special effect, which allows him to discard a card from the GY in order to destroy a spell or trap card on the field. So he gets rid of the Undertaker's Pandemonium card, and as a result, all of the smoke and weird, creepy ambiance disappears, which is really weird, because presumably it's not the card causing that to happen, unless it really is a shadow game, in which case, what? But if it's not the card doing that, that means that the Undertaker set up a bunch of like smoke machines and made it so they would go off when he activated that card. Why didn't he just leave them on? It would have prevented his illusion from being completely shattered easily. So what's the deal? Was it just holograms of smoke? How did he do that? There'd better be a detailed explanation as to how he made it look like Jaden's arms were disappearing. Or I'm gonna have to call bullcrap on this animated series about children's card games saving the world. Undertaker holds up his Millennium item and threatens Jaden with it again. And then Jaden Yuki throws his Elemental Hero Avion card at the puzzle and it stabs into it like it's a knife. Oh, what is that card made of? And what is that puzzle made of? Shit. Imagine if that was the real puzzle though. And Yami Yugi just got scissored in half by a trading card. The irony. Live by the children's card game, die by the children's card game, I suppose. Et tu, Jaden Yuki. Nah, he wouldn't speak Latin, would he? He's Egyptian. Cyrus is really happy that Jaden got his body back. And Jaden's like, I never lost it. This is all bollocks. And he explains that yes, this was all hypnosis. Yeah, that's your reason? That's how it happened? That's how he was able to conjure those illusions? Hypnosis? He didn't even, like, swing his Millennium item back from side to side like you're supposed to. That's how it works, isn't it? You've seen it in the movies. Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to call bullcrap on that. Sorry, it's just unacceptable. I expected more from you, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Jaden Yuki completely destroys the Undertaker. Verbally. It's devastating.
This guy's a complete sham. I mean, he's probably just some out-of-work carny.
Imagine having your place in the world completely ridiculed by a boy who voluntarily attends a school to learn about trading card games. That's gotta suck. Undertaker insists that he isn't out of work and he can go back to the carnival anytime he wants. I'm not joking. I mean, I suppose carnival is a perfectly apt way to refer to the WWE. Then Jaden scoffs at the idea of Undertaker being rehired by the carnival. Jeez. And then makes fun of the shoddy craftsmanship of the Undertaker's Millennium Puzzle. So Jaden just once again calls him a sideshow phony. Jaden Yuki there, passing judgment on another human being. Undertaker tries to insist that his Millennium item is real because he was able to kidnap Alexis. What? And while doing so, he calls it the Millennium Pendant. So Jaden well-actuallys him and points out that it's not the Millennium Pendant, it's the Millennium Puzzle, you fake gamer girl. Jaden demands that the Undertaker return both Alexis and the other kids that he's snatched over the years. And Undertaker's like, I don't know about any other kids. And then in reference to Alexis, he says, after that Carney comment, you can find her yourself. Wait, was he seriously gonna give Alexis back until Jaden insulted his choice of profession? Looks like you just owned yourself, Jaden. And then Undertaker does one of those fake out exits where he throws a smoke bomb down and then just legs it. He just runs off. But Jaden isn't having any of that, so he chases him. And when he gets to the middle of the room, he sees that all the statue heads around the room have lit up with some sort of strange, mysterious light, which converge in the center of the chamber and draw the Eye of Horus on the ground. Okay, what the f*** was going on in this abandoned dorm? Were they making sacrifices to the Egyptian gods in here before? What were they doing? It's worrying. I'm curious. It's like when they went down the hatch in Lost, and it just raised more questions. They've got me intrigued. And then a bunch of wind gets stirred up within the chamber, and Jaden and the Undertaker find themselves captured within a strange orb of darkness. Not unlike the orb that contained the shadow duel at the end of Duelist Kingdom between Pegasus and Yuugi. While they're inside, Jaden asks the Undertaker how he's doing this, because it's very impressive, and the Undertaker says, "Hey, that ain't me." And then both of them get attacked by these weird, malformed, misshapen, like little rock creatures with faces. They look like Miyazaki's soot sprites on steroids, and they start to slowly consume the Undertaker. And Jaden Yuki just kind of casually stands there watching him, dying of asphyxiation. And you know, you can't really blame Jaden in this circumstance, because he's never really been taught how to behave in an emergency situation like this. He's only been taught how to play card games. That's all he knows. Card games. That is it. That's the extent of his knowledge. For all he knows, he's supposed to play Monster Reborn on the guy right now. He doesn't have a clue. So no, yeah, he just sort of watches it happen. Then, Winged Kuriboh crawls out of Jaden's duel disc. It's like something out of a David Cronenberg movie. Death to Videodrome. Long live the new trading cards. Winged Kuriboh is successful at scaring the little stone creatures away from Jaden so that he doesn't get devoured alive, horrifically. And then Jaden looks at the Undertaker, who is being asphyxiated by tiny demonic creatures, and says, too bad he doesn't have a friend like you. What? A man is fucking dying. There is a dying man, and you're making jokes about how he don't have any friends. Look, just because you've never seen him chilling out with his crew at the schoolyard, it doesn't mean he don't have any friends. Also, maybe think about saving him. Maybe, idiot. Then the Undertaker comes to, and he suddenly has glowing red eyes. To which Jaden says, red contact lenses. You really went all out for this, didn't you? So hang on, you weren't that impressed by the smoke or the illusion that your body was being destroyed, but he's got red eyes, and suddenly it's like, whoa, how he do that? The Undertaker, now in his new evil form, announces that their duel will continue in the Shadow Realm, and their monsters reappear. And Jaden says that he's cool with all this demonic shit that's happening, so long as he gets to finish the trading card game that he was playing. He is cool with people dying and being sent to a hell dimension, so long as he gets to finish a card game. What a guy. You know what? At least he knows what his priorities are, I guess. Priority, I should say. The one, card games. Jaden brings back Sparkman. Speak. And then he reassures his Winged Kuriboh that he's totally still in this fight. Remember, whenever you're playing a card game, be sure to reassure your trading cards that everything is okay. They really appreciate it. It could be very nerve-wracking for them. So it's very important to make it clear that there's nothing to worry about. Make sure your relationship with your cards is as strong as your relationship with any other human being. Or in Jaden's case, better. Jaden switches Sparkman to attack mode and equips him with Spark Blaster. And oh shit, it's just a fucking gun. He just gave his monster a gun. He gave his elemental hero monster a gun. I know how to make my monsters more powerful. Give them a fucking gun. And what's doubly weird about this is that it's a visible gun. One of the rare visible guns in Yu-Gi-Oh! The rest of them have some sort of weird cloaking technology, but not this one. So anyway, yeah, Sparkman has a fucking gun, and then Jaden has Sparkman use the gun to switch Undertaker's monster to attack mode so he can destroy it, and then he has the Sparkman use the gun on himself to switch him to defense mode. You know, Persona 3 style. My personal fave Persona. Undertaker pulls a bunch of fancy moves in order to get Jaden's emergency provision spell card from his GY, and he uses it. So now Jaden's at the brink of defeat, while the Undertaker is safely in the 1,000 life point range. And the Shadow Undertaker, hey, that's very Persona as well, isn't it? Gloats at Jaden and says that he will soon be joining all those other kids he sent to the Shadow Realm. Hang on, so whatever is possessing the Undertaker is responsible for taking the kids from the abandoned dorm and sending them to the Shadow Realm. So somebody was dabbling in Shadow Realm stuff and they really shouldn't have been, and it must have caused this to happen. Somehow this is all going to lead to a lot of condescending exposition from Bastion. That posh shithead. Jaden summons elemental hero Bubble Man, who looks sort of like a chunky Mega Man with a cape. Jaden activates Bubble Man's favorite card, Bubble Shuffle, which Jaden explains is more like a two-step than a shuffle. God Damn it, Jaden. It's clearly a reference to the shuffling of your cards, not a dance sequence. Why do you have to take everything to such a weird place? The guy who coined the term get your game on should not be commenting on anybody else's phrasing. Jaden summons elemental hero Blade Edge, which is just a very edgelordy Wesley Snipes, and he attacks the Undertaker with it, but not before explaining what his monster does.
I know what you're thinking. He looks pretty sharp. Well, you're right. So sharp that when he cuts through your defending monster, all extra attack points go to you.
Wait, what? All the extra attack points go to him. Why would you want to give him attack points? Are you trying to say that the extra attack points do damage to him directly? Because that is not what you said. Yeah, Jaden really is a lazy card game student because he needs to bone up on his explanation skills. It's like saying that Pot of Greed allows you to draw 2 fingers. It doesn't, but here they are anyway. Blade Edge attacks the Undertaker's Archfiend and it destroys his monster and wipes out his life points, causing the Undertaker to both lose the card game and also to be set upon once again by those disturbing little rock creatures that start eating him alive. But it's okay, because I know this sounds like a super dark and serious and grim moment, but the show is able to play it off in a lighthearted manner, like this.
Get off me! Kill Mike! He died! Look!
That is not okay. He had kids. It's episode 6 of this show and a father just died, horrifically, in front of the protagonist, who was like, I don't care, guy dying, what are you gonna do? But no, actually, Jaden really spends the last few moments of the Shadow Duelist's life telling him that his special effects were great. Jaden Yuki, the kind of guy who just stares at a dying man and shows zero concern. Want to be friends with him? YGO helps Jaden to find the way out of the Shadow Realm, because there is an exit door to the Shadow Realm, apparently. And Jaden just leaves without a moment's thought. He leaves a man to die. In hell, basically. That is stone cold, Jaden Yuki. Jaden Yuki emerges from the womb of the Shadow Realm and is greeted by proud parents Cyrus and Chumley. Cyrus and Chumley check on Jaden, and we see Alexis lying in the open casket, apparently not in the underworld anymore. I don't know what happened there. Looks like the Undertaker lost that buried alive match. The shadow orb that was containing Jaden and the Undertaker suddenly starts to disintegrate. So yeah, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say the Undertaker is dead. Man, talk about digging your own grave! I hate myself. Cyrus asks Jaden if he doesn't think that was all real, and Jaden says,
Nah, it's all mirrors and fog machines, just like I said. Though I'd give my entire deck to know exactly how he did it.
No, you wouldn't. So yeah, Jaden just sort of shrugs off his being an accomplice to a murder. Later on, we see Crowler exploring the abandoned dorm looking for the Shadow Duelist, and he finds the guy's Pandemonium card lying on the floor. And Crowler exclaims to himself that the Shadow Duelist would never leave this behind, unless he lost. Or maybe people just sometimes drop things. Could that be a possibility? No. A card being here means that he definitely lost. Just like that one rose left on the floor outside was definitely for Alexis's brother. There's no other possibility. Alexis wakes up and sees Jaden and asks him what he's doing here. And Jaden says, hold on, what kind of a thank you is that? And then Alexis says, oh yeah, you're right, and then punches him in the face. Much better. Jaden explains that they are here because of tropes. No, really, listen.
We're here because we had to find the bad guy, win the duel, and rescue the damsel in distress.
Time to get your tropes on. Jaden gives Alexis the picture of her brother from the abandoned dorm. And Alexis looks at the picture and says, wow, this is the first trace of him I've seen in a long time. And I'm like, you never thought to go in and get his belongings? Also, it's suddenly really weird to me that her brother just had a picture of himself on the wall. Who does that? I mean, yeah, Bastian probably, but who else? Jaden explains that he's giving her that picture as a way of saying that he wants to help her find her brother, which is kind of sweet, until he says this.
After all, we can't have you getting locked up in any more tombs searching for him all by yourself.
That's right, Alexis. You can't accomplish anything without the help of a man. Wanna be friends? Jaden, Cyrus, and Chumley notice that the sun is coming up, so they have to get back to their dorm in a hurry. And Jaden tells Alexis that if anyone asks, they were never here. That's right, can you imagine the controversy if a rumor got out that Jaden and Cyrus and Chumley weren't chilling out in the schoolyard, or that they'd spent the night looking too hard for trouble? They'd be expelled on the spot. Their futures would be ruined. Well, that's the end of part 2 of the Shadow Duelist. And I gotta say, not a super satisfying conclusion, but satisfying in a different way. They've established that something weird was going on at this abandoned dorm, and that there's some sort of, like, connection between that dorm and the Shadow Realm. It kind of seems like somebody was doing some sort of weird ritualistic activity in there. I'm interested in seeing them explore some of that. I don't think it'll be like a super deep storyline, but it's cool that magic's getting involved now. Because, you know, it's sort of just a typical school shonen series up until now. But now there's like mystical forces at work, so you know, anything goes. But even though that was kind of a disappointing conclusion to this little mini story arc, I can't help but feel more disappointed by the fact that I still haven't found my hair anywhere. What's the deal? Do I have to just walk around with a breeze on my head this whole time I'm studying at Duel Academy? What am I supposed to do? Oh, hang on. Looks like there was a trading card down here. I didn't notice it until now. It's a pandemonium card. But wait, the Undertaker would never leave this card behind unless he lost. Oh wait, hang on, there's something written on here as well. If you want to see your hair again, you will continue to tell scathing jokes and insult Jaden Yuki throughout the course of your GX review series so that you ruin his reputation as a duelist forever. Sincerely, Anonymous. And then it's just signed by Dr. Crowler at the bottom, so I'm not sure why he put Anonymous there. So I guess Crowler is holding my hair hostage in the Shadow Realm or something? And he won't give it back unless I continue insulting Jaden Yuki in this show. You know, Crowler, you really didn't have to do any of that. I was gonna ridicule him anyway. You've just completely wasted a good evening for me. You know what? I think I look good like this anyway. Did you enjoy watching this episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX? And did you enjoy my little reaction to it? Let me know what you think in the comments. And remember, you can watch Yu-Gi-Oh! GX in its entirety on Hulu.com or Yu-Gi-Oh.com, Crunchyroll.com, it's everywhere. And speaking of everywhere, where I want to shout my love to our Patreon pledges. Thank you so much, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm making myself laugh a little bit. You guys really do make this worth doing. You make it easier for us to do, you make it more fun, and that's really the most rewarding part of it for me. I don't know about you guys, but thank you so much for everything that you do for us. Thank you. Until next time, I'm gonna continue my fruitless search for subtlety in this ridiculous anime series Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Hope to see you and your good legs next time.
Well, no more. I got this figured out.
Did he just say